My name is Sarah, and I thought I knew what my wedding day would look like. The rain was gently tapping against the windows of the bridal suite at the Riverside Gardens venue in Portland, Oregon, creating that perfect Pacific Northwest atmosphere I had always imagined. The morning of October 15th started exactly as planned. My bridesmaids, my sister Emma, my college roommate Jessica, and my childhood friend Rachel were bustling around me in their soft lavender dresses. The scent of fresh roses and eucalyptus filled the air from the bouquets my florist had just delivered. "Sarah, you look absolutely stunning," Emma said, adjusting the delicate pearl necklace that had belonged to our grandmother. The vintage lace dress I had chosen fit me perfectly, flowing elegantly to the floor with intricate beadwork. I caught my reflection in the full-length mirror and smiled. After 2 years of planning, everything was finally coming together. My fiancé Michael and I had met 3 years ago at a coffee shop downtown. His proposal last Christmas had been everything I could have hoped for. "The photographer wants some shots before the ceremony," Jessica mentioned, "and your mom said all the guests have arrived." I felt excitement mixed with nerves. In 2 hours, I would be walking down the aisle to marry the man I loved, surrounded by 68 of our closest family and friends. As I applied my final touch of lipstick, I heard a commotion outside the bridal suite door, raised voices, though I couldn't make out the words. Before anyone could investigate, there was a sharp knock. "Sarah, honey, can I come in?" It was my mother's voice, but there was something strained about her tone that made my stomach tighten. "Of course, Mom," I called out, turning from the mirror. My mother entered, followed by Michael's mother, Patricia. Both women looked uncomfortable, their usual pre-wedding excitement replaced by something concerning. Patricia had always been polite but distant with me. "Sweetheart," my mother began, her hands fidgeting with her navy blue dress. "There's been a situation." "What kind of situation?" I asked, my heart beginning to race. Patricia stepped forward, her face flushed. "Sarah, I need to tell you something about Michael. Something I probably should have mentioned before, but I kept hoping." She trailed off, looking at my mother for support. "What is it?" I demanded, my voice sharper than intended. "Michael's ex-girlfriend Amanda is here," Patricia said quietly. She's pregnant, Sarah, and she's claiming the baby is Michael's." The room went silent. I felt as though the air had been knocked out of my lungs. Amanda. I knew about Amanda. Michael's relationship with her had ended 8 months ago, well before our engagement. He had assured me it was completely over. "That's impossible," I whispered, sinking into the chair where I had been getting my hair done just minutes before. "Michael told me they broke up last winter. He said it was mutual, that they both realized they wanted different things." "Sarah, honey," my mother said gently, kneeling beside my chair. "She's outside. She's asking to speak with you." I looked at my bridesmaids, who were standing frozen, unsure of what to do or say. Emma's face was pale, while Jessica looked angry on my behalf. Rachel was quietly crying, her mascara beginning to smudge. "I need to see her," I said, standing up with more confidence than I felt. "If she has something to say, she can say it to my face." Patricia led me through the venue hallways to a small sitting room. There, seated on a burgundy sofa, was Amanda. I recognized her immediately from photos Michael had shown me. She was visibly pregnant, around 6 months along. Her dark hair was in a messy bun, and she wore a simple black dress. When she looked up at me, her eyes were red-rimmed with distress. "Sarah," she said, standing up slowly, "I'm so sorry to interrupt your wedding day. I know this is terrible timing, but I didn't know what else to do." "You're claiming that Michael is the father of your baby," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Is that true?" Amanda nodded, tears flowing down her cheeks. "We had a complicated breakup. It wasn't clean like he told you. We saw each other a few times, thinking we could work things out. The last time was in February, around Valentine's Day." February. That was 3 weeks before Michael proposed to me. He had seemed distant then, claiming work stress, but then surprised me with the most romantic proposal. "Why now?" I asked. "Why today? I found out about the wedding from friends, and I couldn't let you marry him without knowing the truth," Amanda said. "I've been trying to reach Michael for weeks, but he won't return my calls." I felt sick. The beautiful morning, the perfect dress, it all felt like it was crumbling around me. "Have you told anyone else?" I asked. Just my family and close friends, Amanda replied. I didn't want a scandal, but I can't raise this baby alone while pretending the father doesn't exist. Patricia spoke quietly. Sarah, Michael confided in me about seeing Amanda in February. He said it was a mistake, that he was confused, but swore it was over. When Amanda contacted me last week about being pregnant, I begged her to wait until after the wedding. I stared at Patricia, feeling betrayed. You've known for a week and didn't tell me? I hoped if we got through the wedding, you and Michael could work it out as a married couple, Patricia said weakly. Work it out? I repeated, my voice rising. Work out that my fiancé may have fathered a child with another woman 3 weeks before proposing? The room fell silent except for Amanda's quiet crying. I looked out at the garden where my ceremony was supposed to happen in less than an hour. Guests were taking their seats, unaware of the drama unfolding. I need to talk to Michael, I said. Right now. I found Michael at the venue's bar with his groomsmen in the middle of a toast, looking relaxed and happy. Sarah, he called out, his face lighting up. You look incredible. Though aren't you supposed to avoid me until the ceremony? Bad luck and all that? I studied his face, the face I had imagined growing old with. He looked genuinely excited about our wedding. But now I wondered if I had ever really known him. Michael, I need to speak with you privately, I said, my voice cutting through the atmosphere. His smile faded immediately. Of course. Guys, give us a minute. The groomsmen left, leaving us alone. Michael reached for my hands, but I pulled them away. Amanda is here, I said simply. The color drained from his face. What do you mean? She's in the building, Michael. She's pregnant and says you're the father. Michael ran his hands through his hair, messing up his styling. Sarah, I can explain. So it's true? You were with her in February? It was one night, he said quickly. One stupid night when I was having doubts about everything. About us, about marriage. I was scared and made a terrible mistake. One night? I repeated. She said there were multiple times. He looked away. There were a few times, but Sarah, I swear it meant nothing. I was confused and scared about marriage. Then I realized you were the one I wanted, and I proposed. 3 weeks after sleeping with your ex-girlfriend, I said hollowly. Sarah, please. I know I screwed up, but I love you. I want to marry you. We can figure this out together. I looked at him in his tuxedo, the man I had planned to promise forever to in less than an hour. Is the baby yours? I don't know, he admitted. Maybe. Probably. Amanda and I weren't careful. His honesty hit me like a physical blow. I had spent months planning our future while he carried this secret. The betrayal felt overwhelming. Your mother knew, I said. She's known for a week. Michael's face showed genuine surprise. My mother knew? She didn't tell me Amanda had contacted her. She was hoping we could work it out after the wedding, I said bitterly. As if finding out my husband has a child with another woman would be easier to handle after legally binding myself to him. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I know I should have told you, but I was terrified of losing you. I thought if I could just get through the wedding, we could handle it together. Handle it together? I repeated. Michael, you lied to me for months. You let me plan a wedding, send out invitations, and prepare to promise you forever, while you knew there was a chance you had a child with someone else. He reached for me again, and this time I let him take my hands. I love you, Sarah. I know I made mistakes, but I love you more than anything. Can't we find a way to work through this? I looked into his eyes, searching for the man I had fallen in love with, trying to reconcile that person with the one who had been deceiving me. I need to think, I said. I need time to process this. The guests are waiting, he said weakly. The ceremony is supposed to start in 20 minutes. I know exactly what time it is, Michael, I replied. But I can't walk down that aisle right now. Not like this. I found myself back in the bridal suite, my dress spread around me like a white cloud, staring at my reflection in the mirror. My makeup was still perfect, my hair still elegantly styled, but my eyes looked different, older somehow, more aware. Emma, Jessica, and Rachel sat quietly around me, waiting for me to speak. My mother had joined us, along with Michael's mother, Patricia, creating an awkward tension in the room. What am I supposed to do? I asked, not really directing the question to anyone in particular. You follow your heart, my mother said gently. Whatever you decide, we'll support you. But what about the guests? Jessica asked practically. There are almost 70 people out there waiting for a wedding. The guests can wait, Emma said firmly. This is about Sarah's life, not their entertainment. I appreciated my sister's fierce protectiveness, but I knew Jessica was right. We had people who had traveled from across the country, who had taken time off work, who had bought gifts and prepared speeches. The thought of disappointing them felt almost as overwhelming as the betrayal itself. Has anyone told them what's happening? I asked. Your father is handling it, my mother said. He's just told them there's a slight delay while we handle a family matter. I stood up and walked to the window again, looking out at the garden where white chairs were arranged in perfect rows, where the arch covered in roses and eucalyptus waited for a bride and groom who might never appear. The rain had stopped, and weak sunlight was beginning to break through the clouds. I keep thinking about trust, I said aloud. How do you build a marriage when the foundation is cracked? People make mistakes, Patricia said quietly. Michael loves you, Sarah. I know what he did was wrong, but maybe love is worth fighting for. But what about Amanda? I asked. What about the baby? Even if Michael and I somehow worked through this, there would always be this other family, this other responsibility. Could I handle being a stepmother to the child he had with someone else while he was supposed to be committed to me? The room fell silent. It was a question none of them could answer for me. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. Sarah? It was my father's voice. May I come in? Of course, Dad. My father entered, still wearing his wedding suit but looking tired. He had always been my rock, the person I turned to when life felt overwhelming. How are you holding up, sweetheart? I don't know, I admitted. I feel like my whole world has been turned upside down. He sat down beside me, taking my hand in his larger one. I talked to Michael, he said. He's devastated. He knows he made a terrible mistake, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to make it right. But can he make it right? I asked. Can anyone make this right? My father was quiet for a moment. Your mother and I have been married 32 years, and we've been through challenges. The question isn't whether problems will arise. They will. The question is whether both people are committed to working through them together. But this is about trust and honesty. How can I trust him again? I don't know if you can, my father said honestly. Only you can decide if you're willing to try. I looked around the room at the faces of the people who love me most. Each of them would support whatever decision I made, but they couldn't make the choice for me. I thought about Michael, probably pacing in the bar area, wondering if his life was about to fall apart. I thought about Amanda, waiting to see if the father of her child would step up to his responsibilities. I thought about the guests, politely waiting for a ceremony that might never happen. But mostly, I thought about myself, about the person I wanted to be and the life I wanted to live, about whether I could forgive this betrayal and build something stronger, or whether some breaks were too fundamental to repair. I stood up and smoothed my dress, looking at my reflection one more time. The woman in the mirror looked back at me, and I saw something I hadn't noticed before. Strength. Not just the excitement of a bride, but the quiet confidence of someone who knew her own worth. I've made my decision, I said, turning to face the room. I walked to the door and opened it, stepping out into the hallway where Michael was waiting, his face full of hope and fear. Behind him, I could see some of our guests lingering in the corridor, trying to understand what was happening. Michael, I said, my voice clear and steady, I need you to know that I love you. I love the man I thought you were, and I love the future I thought we would have together. His face began to fall as he heard the but that was coming. But I can't marry someone who kept a secret this big from me. I can't start a marriage with a lie at its foundation. And I can't pretend that everything is okay when it's not. Sarah, please, he started. No, I said firmly. I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying this because I respect both of us too much to pretend this didn't happen. You need to figure out your situation with Amanda and the baby. You need to be responsible for your choices, and I need to figure out who I am without you. I reached behind my neck and unclasped the pearl necklace, my grandmother's necklace, handing it to my mother. Then I began walking toward the main hall, my wedding dress trailing behind me. Where are you going? Michael called after me. To thank our guests for coming, I said, without turning around, and to tell them the truth. I entered the main hall where our friends and family were seated, their faces turning toward me with a mixture of concern and curiosity. I walked to the front, where the officiant was waiting, and turned to face the people who had come to celebrate what they thought would be the beginning of my married life. "Thank you all for being here today," I began, my voice carrying clearly through the room. "I know you came here expecting to witness a wedding, and I'm sorry to disappoint you. But sometimes life has other plans." I could hear murmurs rippling through the crowd, but I continued. "I've learned today that trust is not something you can force or fake. It's something that has to be earned and maintained. And when it's broken, sometimes the kindest thing you can do, for yourself and for others, is to be honest about it." I looked out at the faces of people who loved me, who had supported me, who had believed in my happiness. "I won't be getting married today, but I want you to know that I'm grateful for each of you being here, for the love you've shown me, and for the way you've enriched my life." I paused, feeling the weight of the moment. The reception hall is still reserved, the food is still prepared, and the band is still here. I'd like to invite you all to stay and celebrate anyway. Not a wedding, but friendship and family, and the kind of love that endures even when life doesn't go according to plan. I began to walk down the aisle, but instead of walking toward a groom, I was walking toward my future, uncertain but honest. As I reached the back of the hall, I heard something unexpected. Applause. It started with my sister Emma, then my parents, then rippled through the entire gathering. The applause wasn't for a wedding ceremony, but for courage, for honesty, for the strength to make a difficult decision and stand by it. I stopped at the back of the hall and turned around one more time, looking at Michael, who was standing near the altar with tears in his eyes. I felt sad for him, and for us, and for the future we wouldn't have together. But I also felt something else, relief. The relief of knowing that I had chosen honesty over convenience, integrity over image, and self-respect over settling. As I walked out of the hall, still wearing my wedding dress, I knew that this wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one where I would write my own future, on my own terms, with my own values as the foundation. The rain had stopped completely, and the sun was breaking through the clouds, casting everything in a warm, golden light. I stepped outside into my new life, ready for whatever came next.